A man came in here at 74 wanting to trade his pistol. He had carried the same semi-automatic for 30 years, and he could not rack the slide anymore. Not because he got weak, because he had a rotator cuff repair on one side and arthritis in both thumbs, and the motion that used to be nothing had quietly stopped being available to him. He was apologetic about it. That is the part I want to talk about, because he had nothing to apologize for, and he had been made to feel like he did. Here is what nobody says out loud in this industry. Almost every gun on the shelf was designed and marketed for a 40-year-old man with two good hands, and the marketing pretends everyone else is a special case. You are not a special case. You are most of the country eventually. So today it is 10 revolvers, ranked worst to first, for hands that do not do what they used to. But before we go one step further, I have to argue with my own title, because I wrote it and it overstates the case. Do not forget semi-autos. Some of the best answers for an older shooter are semi-automatic, and there are modern designs built specifically around low slide force that are genuinely excellent, and I will name them at the end. If somebody tells you revolvers are the only option at a certain age, they are selling you a simple story instead of a correct one. What is true is that revolvers solve a specific set of problems better than anything else, and if the problem you have is on that list, this video is for you, and my number one is going to annoy the internet because it is not the smallest, not the lightest, not the most concealable, and it costs more than the guns most people recommend for this. The reason is going to be the whole point. Let me say one thing, then I will leave it be. Everything I have picked up behind that counter, how to buy right the first time, what is worth your money and what ain't. I put it all in one book over at buyproven.com. If you want it, it is there. That is all. Now let us get back to it. Real quick, so you know who is talking. I am Emmett Boone. I spent 11 years working warranty returns for a firearms distributor, which means my job was opening the box when somebody mailed a gun back and writing down why. These days I run projects at a custom rifle shop. I am salaried. I do not work commission. I get paid the same whether you buy something or walk out of here, and that is exactly why I can tell you the truth. Here is the filter, and it is different from any other list I have made. Can you load it? Can you fire it? And can you fire it again? Those are three separate questions, and most people only think about the second one. Life or dollars. And on this list, life means the gun works in the hands that will actually be holding it. And before the list, the 4 problems, because every pick on here is solving one of them. Slide force. A semi-automatic slide takes 20 to 30 pounds of pull with your hands in an awkward position, and shoulders, thumbs, and grip strength all have to cooperate. Revolvers ask for none of that. There is no slide. Grip strength. This is different from slide force, and it is the one that surprises people. A double-action revolver trigger is 10 to 12 pounds, and you have to pull it with one finger, repeatedly. That is genuinely hard with arthritic hands, and it is the reason some people should not buy a double-action only gun. Vision. Iron sights need 3 planes in focus, and past 60 that stops happening for most people. This is not a small thing, and it has a good solution. Retention and manipulation. Dropping a magazine, seating it, working a slide stop, all of it takes fine motor control that gets harder, especially in the dark, especially under stress. Different guns solve different combinations of those. That is the whole logic of this list. Number 10, the lightweight airweight snub. The small frame, aluminum and scandium revolvers around 11 to 15 ounces. I know these get recommended for older shooters constantly, and I am putting one at the bottom on purpose, because I think the recommendation is usually wrong. The pitch makes sense. Under a pound, fits in a pocket or a purse, no slide to rack, 5 rounds of .38, and nothing to forget. $400 to $600. Here is where it costs you, and it is severe. Recoil is a function of gun weight, and an 11-ounce revolver firing .38 special hurts. Genuinely hurts, in a way that a 30-ounce gun firing the same round does not. For hands with arthritis, that pain is not just unpleasant, it is disqualifying, because you will not practice with a gun that hurts you, and a gun you do not practice with will fail you. And the trigger on these is heavy, and the sights are a groove in the top strap, and the grip is small enough that your hand cannot get purchase on it. Somebody is going to tell you this is the perfect gun for your mother. It is the perfect gun for a very small number of people, and it is the worst possible recommendation for most. The next one has the same footprint and none of that problem. Number 9, the small frame revolver in steel rather than alloy, around 22 to 27 ounces. Same size gun, same 5 rounds, roughly double the weight. And that doubled weight is the entire point, because it cuts felt recoil roughly in half. 500 to 700 new, 400 used. 3-inch barrels are the sweet spot here, rather than 2, because the extra inch adds a little weight, gives you a longer sight radius, and gets more out of the cartridge. Where it costs you is that you still have a heavy double-action trigger with one finger doing the work, and 5 rounds, and small stock sights. Better than number 10 in every way that matters. But we are still asking your trigger finger to do something hard, and the next several guns start fixing that. Number 8, the .32 caliber revolvers, the .32 H&R Magnum, and the .327 Federal Magnum guns. This is the most under-recommended answer in this entire category, and I want to spend a minute on it. Because .32 is a smaller diameter cartridge, you get 6 rounds in a small frame instead of 5. And the .32 H&R Magnum out of a small revolver produces meaningfully less recoil than a .38 Special, while still being a serious defensive cartridge. If the gun is chambered in .327 Federal Magnum, it will also fire .32 H&R Magnum and .32 S&W Long, which gives you a whole ladder of loads from very mild up to genuinely powerful. That ladder is the thing. You can start somebody on the softest load in existence and work up as they get comfortable in the same gun with the same grip. $600 to $800. Where it costs you is ammunition availability, and this is a real limit. .32 in any of its forms is not on every shelf, and it costs more than .38. If you live somewhere the shelves get thin, that matters. Genuinely excellent idea with a supply chain problem. The next one solves the trigger. Number 7, the small frame revolver with an exposed hammer, use single action. Here's a technique nobody talks about, and it is free. A double action revolver with an exposed hammer can be cocked with the thumb. And once it is cocked, the trigger drops from 12 pounds to about 3. If the 10 to 12 pound double action pull is what is stopping you, and for a lot of people it is, that single motion solves it completely. This is not the preferred way to run a defensive revolver, and I want to be honest about that. It is slower, it requires a deliberate extra step, and a cocked revolver demands more trigger discipline. So this is a technique for someone who has practiced it, not something to try for the first time at 2 in the morning. But for a person whose hands genuinely cannot do a 12-pound pull accurately, the choice is not between double action and single action. It is between single action and not being able to hit anything, and framed that way it is not close. Any exposed hammer revolver on this list can do this, and it costs nothing. And the next one is where the guns start getting bigger on purpose. Number 6, the 4-inch mid-frame in .38 Special only, not .357, .38 Special. Here is the argument. A dedicated .38 revolver on a mid-size frame can be built lighter than a Magnum-rated gun because it does not have to contain Magnum pressure. You get a 30-ounce gun with a 4-inch barrel, 6 rounds, real sights, a full-size grip your whole hand fits on, and recoil that is genuinely mild. $500 to $700. For a nightstand gun, for a home defense gun that never leaves the house, this is a lot of correct answer for the money. Where it costs you is that you have given up the option to ever step up, and .38 only guns are a smaller market with fewer choices. And honestly, a .357 revolver shooting, .38, gets you the same thing with the option left open, which is why this is at 6 and not higher. Number 5, the medium frame .357 in 3-inch, the SP-101 class of gun. 5-shot, 3-inch barrel, 27 ounces of stainless, built heavy for its size on purpose. This is a small gun that shoots like a bigger one, and that is exactly the trade you want. $650 to $750 new. It will handle any load ever made in the cartridge, and more importantly, it will shoot .38 Special softly because there is enough steel in it to absorb the recoil. Where it costs you is the double action pull, which is heavy from the factory and needs either a spring kit from a gunsmith or a lot of dry fire before it is really usable. Budget for that. $100 of gunsmith time on the trigger is the single best money you can spend on a gun like this, and almost nobody does it. 5 rounds and a good trigger job. And the next one gives you 2 more and a sight upgrade. Number 4, the 4-inch mid-frame Magnum with a red dot. I want to talk about the optic more than the gun, because this is the biggest single improvement available to an older shooter, and it is badly under-recommended. Iron sights require your eye to focus on 3 things at different distances, and past 60, most people cannot do it. That is not a skill problem. It is the lens in your eye getting less flexible, and no amount of practice fixes it. A red dot solves it entirely. 1 dot, focused at infinity, on the target. You look at the threat, you put the dot on it. That is the whole procedure. Shooters who could not group at 7 yards with irons shoot well with a dot almost immediately, and I have watched that happen more times than I can count. Several manufacturers now ship revolvers cut for optics from the factory, and mounts exist for most of the rest. Add $300 to $500 for a decent dot and the mounting. Where it costs you is money, batteries, and the need to check that the dot is on. Get one with a several-year battery life and a shake-awake feature, and leave it alone. If you take one thing from this video, it might be this one, and the next 2 are about the loading problem. Number 3, the revolver with a good speed loader system and a practiced reload. I am ranking a technique again because it belongs here. Loading a revolver 1 round at a time into small chambers is genuinely difficult with arthritic fingers, and it is the step everybody forgets when they recommend revolvers. Firing it is easy, loading it is not. Speed strips are flat rubber strips that hold rounds in a row and let you load 2 at a time. Speed loaders hold a full cylinder and drop all of them at once with a twist. Moon clips, on guns that take them, are the best of all, because the whole cylinder goes in as one piece and comes out as one piece. If loading is your limiting factor, buy a gun that takes moon clips. That is a specific and unusual recommendation, and it is the right one for that specific problem. Cost is $20 to $40, and it is the cheapest fix in this entire video. Number 2, the full-size 4-inch .357 on a mid-frame, the 6.86 and GP 100 class. 39 to 40 ounces, 4-inch full lug barrel, 6 or 7 rounds, real adjustable sights, and a grip your whole hand fits on with room left over. Here is why weight is a feature and not a bug for this audience. That 40 ounces means .38 special out of it produces almost no recoil at all. Not mild, almost none. A .38 wad cutter in a 40-ounce revolver is about the gentlest centerfire experience available to a human being, and it costs 20 cents a round, which means you can practice. $650 to $900 depending on the maker. Where it costs you is that this is not a carry gun for most people at this weight, and the double action pull still needs work. Nearly perfect, and it lost by one thing, which brings us to it. Number 1, and here's the rule I am breaking. This hobby says older shooters need small light guns. Everybody says it. Lightweight, easy to carry, easy to handle. It sounds like kindness, and it is exactly backwards. Light guns recoil harder. Light guns have shorter grips your hand cannot fill. Light guns have smaller sights and shorter sight radius, and worse triggers. Every single thing that makes a gun easy to carry makes it harder to shoot, and if your hands are the limiting factor, hard to shoot is the thing that disqualifies a gun. Number 1 is the full-size 4-inch .357 revolver, fed .38 special, with a red dot on top and moon clips or speed loaders for the reload. That is not a brand, it is a configuration, and it is the answer. Take a 6.86 or a GP 100 or a Model 66, 40 ounces. Put a red dot on it, because the sights are the thing your eyes cannot do anymore. Load it with .38 special, standard pressure, because the recoil is nearly nothing, and you will actually practice. Get a speed loader or a moon clip setup so the reload does not require fine fingertip work. And if the double action pull is too heavy, spend $100 having a gunsmith smooth it, or cock the hammer. Now look at what you have. No slide to rack, almost no recoil, sights your eye can actually use, a grip your whole hand fits, a trigger tuned to your hand, a reload that does not require threading a needle, 6 or 7 rounds, and ammunition at 20 cents a round so you can shoot 500 a year instead of 30. Every one of the 4 problems solved, individually, on purpose. I know some of you wanted a little pocket revolver here. I get it. I really do. It is what everybody recommends, and it is what gets sold at counters every day to sons buying guns for their mothers. But strip the assumption off it, and the numbers only point one way. The gun that is easiest to carry is not the gun that is easiest to shoot, and if you cannot shoot it, carrying it accomplishes nothing. Buy the gun you can run, solve the carry problem second, with a holster or a bag, or by keeping it in one place in the house, because carry is a solvable problem, and hand strength is not. $850 new, $650 used for the revolver, plus $300 for a dot. Proven, common, affordable. Runs when everything else quits. Spec, history, price. It wins all 3. Now the honest part, and this is the section I care most about in this whole video. Do not buy any gun from this list, or any list, without holding it first. Go to a shop and physically try to work the action, load it, and pull the trigger before money changes hands. Any shop that will not let you do that does not deserve your business. This is the single most important thing I will say today, and it is the step that put that woman with the 12 gauge in her closet. Rent before you buy if there is a range near you that does it. An hour and $40 will tell you more than every video on this subject combined, including mine. And do not forget the semi-autos, because I said I would come back to this. There are modern pistols built specifically around low slide force, with tip-up barrels that let you load around without racking anything at all, and with slides deliberately engineered to be easy to cycle. If a revolver's double-action trigger is your problem rather than the slide, one of those may be a better answer than anything on this list. Ask for them by category at a shop and try them. The right gun is the one your hands can run, not the one somebody recommended for people your age. Training beats gear every single time. The most important tool you own sits between your ears and your trigger finger, and a gun in a drawer that nobody has fired in 6 years is not home defense. It is furniture. If I could only keep 3 off this whole list, it would be a 4-inch .357 loaded with .38 because it solves the most problems at once, a 3-inch small frame in steel for the days the big one stays home, and a red dot on top of whichever one gets carried, because eyes are the thing nobody plans for, not because they are the flashiest, because they are proven. They are right for the job, and they are the kind of thing you hand your kids someday. Buy proven, not hyped. And buy the gun your hands can actually work. All right, your turn. What stopped working first for you, and what did you switch to? Drop it in the comments, because that thread is going to be more useful to somebody than this video is. And tell me if I got any of this dead wrong. I read every one. The comment scraps are half the fun. Next time we do the loads for these guns. The softest shooting defensive point, 3/8 loads, what a wad cutter actually does, and why the cheapest round on the shelf might be the right one. That one is going to start a bigger fight than this one. Shoot straight, buy proven, and I will see you at the counter.